At home, she's a terrible wife. She takes advantage of being a housewife and doesn't do anything. After marriage, the husband who rarely came home said this at a family gathering. The relatives sympathized with him and said, "What a terrible wife." Then the husband went on to say, "She's bad at cooking and the food is inedible. She's bad at housework in general and the house is dirty. I don't even want to go home." I had reached my limit at this point. He had treated people so poorly, yet he had the nerve to say something like that. I was angry and said to my husband, "What are you talking about? You don't even have a house." My husband and relatives were surprised that I had spoken up. "We canceled our lease on our house a week ago. Your things are in storage. You don't even come home, so it's no wonder you didn't know." "What? Canceled?" my father-in-law told my bewildered husband. "What's going on?" After this, my husband would experience hell. My name is Emily. I'm 32 years old and married. My parents run a medium-sized factory. My father is the president, and my mother is in charge of organizing part-time workers at the factory. I'm an only child who was raised by my doting parents. I graduated from college and worked as an accountant for a major automaker. I'm shy and had little experience with romance when I turned 30. My parents were worried about me and introduced me to several potential partners through arranged dates, but I didn't find anyone who clicked with me. Just as I was thinking of giving up on arranged dates altogether, my father introduced me to someone he wanted me to meet. He was the son of an important business partner of my father's company. I couldn't ruin my father's reputation, so I reluctantly agreed to meet him. That's where I met Ken, who would later become my husband. Ken worked for another related company to inherit his father's company. He had a kind smile and was polite, which made me like him. It turned out that he felt the same way about me, and we exchanged contact information after our arranged date. We went on dates after that and got engaged 6 months later when Ken proposed to me. I happily accepted his proposal and went to both families to report our engagement. My parents were overjoyed by my marriage. "Emily, I'm glad. Ken, please make my daughter happy. With your father's company, we can work together for a long time." My parents seemed happy not only that I would be happy but also that we had a special bond with an important business partner. Thanks to Ken's company's dealings, my father's company seems to be doing well. Next, we went to visit Ken's parents. Their house was a mansion beyond my imagination. Smiling, my mother-in-law said, "I'm glad Ken and Emily are doing well. This child didn't get married until this age, so I was a little worried." My mother-in-law is apparently a city councilor. She seems kind, but her way of speaking is clear and she seems like a person with vitality. Then my father-in-law chimed in. "Yes, our family is a family business, so we value our bonds with our family and relatives. Emily will be one of them. I'll count on you for Ken from now on." My father-in-law was a person who seemed like a president with his dignity. I was nervous because of his rough demeanor. However, he agreed to our marriage and was happy about it. After that, Ken and I registered our marriage and had a wedding ceremony. The condition for getting married was to become a housewife. My job is pretty busy, so I want Emily to take care of the house. I nodded at his words. "Okay, I'll do my best to serve you." Ken's salary was pretty good, and we received a large amount of wedding gifts from both families, so I wasn't particularly dissatisfied with being a housewife. My friends teased me that it was enviable to be a housewife with such good fortune. Ken and I started living together, but Ken refused his parents' offer to buy them a condominium. He said he wanted to live in a rental that was affordable for both of them. I thought it might not be good to rely on his parents for everything, so I agreed with Ken's idea. When they were deciding on a place to live, Ken said, "I'm too busy to go around looking for a real estate agent. Find a place you like and sign the contract. Is that okay?" "Yeah, I'll move in there." So I went around the real estate agents by myself and decided on a new rental apartment to live in with Ken after the wedding. We moved there after the wedding ceremony. We expected to start our sweet newlywed life, but it was soon shattered. Ken didn't come home at all. He came home when it was already past midnight due to overtime work on weekdays and left early in the morning. He also worked on weekends and holidays and said he had to work overtime. He also went on business trips frequently and sometimes stayed overnight. I stayed at home all day doing housework during that time, but I had a lot of free time. At first, I made food for Ken, but he said he had eaten outside and went to bed without touching it every day. So he continued to sleep at home without doing anything else. I gradually began to feel empty about such days. Is this what marriage is like? I did decide to support Ken, but this isn't good. After thinking that way, 3 months after the wedding, I decided to talk to Ken. Hey, Ken, are you really that busy with work? We don't have any time as a couple. Then Ken answered with a tired expression while loosening his tie. Yeah, I'm busy with work. Can't you see that I'm tired? I understand that. Then don't say anything unnecessary. I'm working hard to earn our living expenses. When he said that, I couldn't say anything. Certainly, Ken gave me more than enough living expenses every month. Since he was supporting me, I couldn't complain about his work. At that time, Thanksgiving Day was approaching. So I asked Ken, don't we have any gatherings or anything during Thanksgiving Day? Don't we have to visit your parents' house? Then Ken replied, no, it's okay. Besides, I have work too, and my father goes on a trip every year. But are you sure it's okay? I'm saying it's okay. We also sent them gifts for the summer greeting season, so it's fine. Ken said that in an annoying tone and went straight to the bedroom. At that time too, I could only stare at his back without saying anything. Time passed, and around the time Thanksgiving was over, I received a phone call. Hello, is this Emily? It was my father-in-law. Yes, father-in-law. It's been a while. I can't believe you didn't show up at the family gathering for Thanksgiving. What? I told you that we value our bonds with family and relatives. You're married now, so you should show up and help out. I was criticized without any explanation, and my mind went blank. I didn't even know there was a gathering for Thanksgiving, and Ken had told his parents that they were going on a trip. I'm sorry, father-in-law, but I don't want to hear your excuses. I asked Ken, and he said you're not even doing housework properly. What? I was at home all day and did housework perfectly. Did Ken really tell his father that? You became a housewife, so you should take care of the house properly. Got it? My father-in-law said that in an overbearing manner, and I could only answer yes. That night, I told Ken exactly what my father-in-law had said to me. You said there wasn't a gathering for Thanksgiving. So why? Did I say that? Maybe you misheard me. That's not true. If I knew there was a gathering, I would have gone. And if you have any complaints about my housework, you should tell me before telling your father. I pleaded with him in tears, but Ken just laughed. You're just lazing around at home all day. What are you talking about? I'm trying my best to do housework perfectly while you're not here. I don't know. You're probably just playing around with my money. That's not true. Ken looked at me coldly and left immediately. After that, Ken's attitude became even colder. He stopped coming home altogether. When I contacted him, he only said he was working. It was strange that he didn't come home at all. Something was definitely wrong. Ken must be hiding something from me. So I decided to investigate Ken by using my savings from when I was single to hire a private investigator. The seasons passed, and before I knew it, New Year's Day was approaching. While I was doing housework, my father-in-law called again. Emily, there's a family gathering for New Year's Day, so make sure you show up. Yes, I understand. I immediately contacted Ken. Hey, father-in-law told me to show up for New Year's Day. Huh? You don't have to come. What? But I can't expose an incompetent wife like you to my relatives. I'll go alone, so don't come. The phone call ended abruptly. A few days later, I was in front of my in-laws' house. I could hear the sound of a lively party from inside. When I pressed the intercom, my surprised mother-in-law greeted me. "Emily, I heard you weren't coming." I bowed my head and showed up at the party. Then I heard these words from my relatives. "Finally, the bride shows up. Is that the wife who doesn't do any housework? It's been a while since we've seen her." My father-in-law looked sullen and glared at me. Ken, who was drinking with his relatives, was stunned when he saw me. He probably didn't expect me to show up here. However, he couldn't kick me out in front of his relatives. So he turned away from me and started drinking again. While my mother-in-law and I were preparing food and drinks in the kitchen, I overheard a conversation in the living room. "Ken, is your married life going well?" "As you can see, Uncle. As we can see. She's a terrible wife who takes advantage of being a housewife and doesn't do anything." I could hear Ken's arrogant voice. The relatives sympathized with him and said, "What a terrible wife." Then Ken went on to say, "She's bad at cooking and the food is inedible. She's bad at housework in general and the house is dirty. I don't even want to go home." I had reached my limit at this point. He had treated people so poorly, yet he had the nerve to say something like that. I moved to the living room and said to Ken, "What are you talking about? You don't even have a house." I intervened in the conversation, and my husband and relatives looked surprised. "What? I don't even have a house." When Ken told me that in a panic, I calmly replied, "I canceled our lease on our house a week ago. Your things are in storage. You don't even come home, so it's no wonder you didn't know." Yes, I had canceled our lease on our house and started living alone. "What? Canceled?" Ken's eyes widened as his father told him. "What does that mean?" Ken still couldn't believe what was happening and couldn't say anything. So I turned to my father-in-law. "Ken has hardly come home since we got married. He hasn't even eaten my cooking once. He hasn't set foot in our home for months." Then my father-in-law raised his eyebrows. "What? Then where has Ken been sleeping? He seems to be living with his mistress. Right, Ken?" "What?" The relatives were murmuring. Ken blushed and said, "You're making things up. I just slept at the office. You're neglecting me because I'm busy, you worthless wife." Then my father-in-law said something like this. "Ken also said that, Emily. What are you thinking? Canceling the lease on the house without permission and making up lies about cheating." The relatives also said, "What a terrible wife. Poor Ken." Then I took an envelope out of my bag and dumped its contents on the spot. Inside were numerous photos of evidence of Ken's infidelity. Ken was smiling as he linked arms with a flashy woman and entered shady places and the woman's house. My father-in-law was staring at them intently. I told my husband firmly, "The evidence is there. Why don't you explain it to everyone yourself?" As Ken looked at the photos, his face turned pale. "That's not true." Then my mother-in-law, who had somehow appeared next to me, told him in a low voice, "Ken, tell us the truth." Ken seemed to give up and began to speak reluctantly. "I've been involved with her since before we got married. She's a woman I met at a nightclub. We love each other." The relatives were murmuring. Then I said, "That's why you didn't come home, because you were going to her house. So why did you marry me?" Father and mother would never approve of me marrying a woman from a nightclub. I thought I could reassure them by marrying a subcontractor's daughter. Despite my anger, I asked him another question. "Why did you badmouth me to your relatives and father-in-law?" "I thought it would make it easier to get divorced. I really wanted to be with her. I wanted to dump you from the beginning. But people wouldn't understand if there wasn't a reason." I was about to open my mouth in anger when there was a loud noise. My mother-in-law had slapped Ken in the face. "Mother, you're saying nothing but selfish things. What do you think marriage, Emily, is?" Then my father-in-law stood up and told him, "Ken, you're a shameful son. We're disowning you." What? Disowning? But I'm going to inherit your company, aren't I? We're not going to let that happen. Don't ever show your face in front of us again. Apologize to Emily too. Then Ken knelt down in front of me. Emily, I'm sorry. Please tell father and mother that you forgive me. I shouted at him loudly. I won't forgive you. We're getting divorced. We'll take plenty of compensation for damages. And good luck with your mistress, you scumbag. After that, Ken was kicked out by his father and relatives and left crying. On the other hand, I apologized many times to my in-laws and relatives. I got their promise that they would continue doing business with my family. Later, Ken and I divorced and I was able to win a large amount of compensation for damages. My in-laws gave me several $10,000 as compensation for causing trouble, so I decided to accept it. As for Ken, he was literally disowned by his parents and lost his future position as president. Moreover, he was hired by his father-in-law through connections. He lied so he could spend time with his mistress even though he couldn't do his job well. He was repeatedly late or absent from work, so he was fired. Ken lost both his future and income at once. He was even dumped by his mistress. Now he lives alone in a shabby apartment and is desperately looking for work. Even after hearing that, I have no sympathy for him. Rather, I feel like he got what he deserved. As for me, I returned to work while living alone. Thanks to various compensation for damages, I won't have any trouble living for a while. Next time, I plan to go overseas for a change of pace. From now on, I want to live brightly while valuing myself. I am Ann Watson. I am 35 years old. I've been working as a part-time employee at the neighborhood supermarket for 15 years. Modesty aside, I'm always cheerful and energetic, and I'm quite popular with the customers.
Good morning, Annie.
Good morning. Thank you for visiting us as always. It's a beautiful day today.
Annie, you're always so full of energy. Your smile makes me feel better too.
And I feel energized when I get to see all of you.
By the way, I heard you have a new store manager. What's this person like? The previous manager was incredibly kind.
Yes, the new manager is quite young. Looks like an elite, to be honest. In reality, though, he hardly does any work, always reading comics or playing games in the office. Quite useless, really.
I secretly hoped you'd become the manager, Annie.
Oh, no. I'm just a part-timer. Now, what can I help you find today?
I'm in the mood for fish. Any recommendations?
We have some excellent salmon available today.
I'll take my time looking around.
Every morning, I greet customers like this and engage in conversations. Our supermarket is designed to be convenient for single individuals, with smaller portions of prepared foods. As a result, many elderly customers visit us. They often need assistance with their shopping, which can be bothersome for some, but I genuinely enjoy helping them. Today, as I surveyed the store, I noticed an elderly woman wandering around the fish section, looking uncertain. She seemed torn about whether to put a premium fresh fish she had picked up into her bag. Quietly, I approached her and asked, "Are you interested in purchasing this today?" The customer slumped down right there, seemingly overwhelmed. I led her to the back office to have a conversation. She explained that her husband and she live together, but he is seriously ill with a limited life expectancy. They survive on a modest pension, and she can't afford to buy her husband's favorite foods. However, she wanted to treat him to something he loves one last time. Driven by this sentiment, she had almost given in to temptation. In such situations, we usually involve the police, but since this was an attempted act, I decided to let her go without involving them. However, the manager insisted on a rigid approach.
If you allow such behavior, she'll do it again. Besides, her husband's story is probably fabricated. Call the police and hand her over.
I tried to reason. She didn't actually steal anything. She was feeling unwell and needed a break.
How would you know? Just call the police already.
Can't we be a bit more flexible? If you were the store manager...
Are you defying me as a part-timer? Or are you saying you'll take responsibility?
Fine. If there's an issue, I'll take responsibility. Reluctantly, the store manager backed down.
Thank you. I'm truly sorry.
It's okay. But please don't do this again.
Yes, I promise I won't.
As I escorted the lady outside the store, I wondered if there was more I could do for customers like her. Amid the daily hustle, I felt powerless at times. One day, after a long time, a new employee joined us. Ever since the store manager changed, the turnover rate among part-timers has been high, and it's been quite challenging to find good replacements. The store manager called out.
Hey, this is Sophia Lewis, the new recruit. You'll be in charge of training her.
I sighed. Again? I did this last time too. The store manager grumbled.
Why are you always so full of complaints? That's why middle-aged women.
Why does he always have to phrase things like that? Just ask normally. Understood. Is it Ms. Lewis? Come over here. Following the usual routine, I explained the job responsibilities step by step, adhering to the new employee training manual. However, this newcomer always seemed to disappear mysteriously. Where does she vanish to? It's like she lacks any motivation and always has this absent-minded demeanor. But strangely, she's lightning fast at operating the cash register. Could she have worked at a supermarket before? Or maybe she has some other hidden talent. Speaking of which, how did the store manager select her? She's kind of cute. Definitely based on appearances, right? And honestly, it's inappropriate for the store manager to address a new part-timer as Sophie so casually. Still, I can't keep fussing over the newbies forever. As long as she doesn't make any major mistakes, I'll just observe her behavior for now. A few days later, on the eve of our annual disaster preparedness event, a colossal ordering mistake came to light. The emergency food supplies we needed for the event hadn't arrived. The debagging frenzy activity was a highlight of the event, and now we were left without the essential items. What's going on? You did place the order, right?
Of course. Who do you think I am? I wouldn't make such a mistake.
He retorted. Upon checking the order form, I discovered that the delivery date was a week away. What's this? I pressed. He snapped back.
Quit bothering me. It's not my fault. You're the one who sent the order. You should have double-checked.
What are you saying? Weren't you the one who told part-timers to stay out of it?
I don't know. You're utterly useless if you can't even handle something like this.
Wait a minute. Instead of making baseless accusations, what's our plan for tomorrow's event?
Look, I don't know. It's all your responsibility.
How did an incompetent and irresponsible man like him become the store manager? Does HR at headquarters have any discernment at all? Any good ideas? I rallied the other part-timers to brainstorm. First, we checked the warehouse and pulled out as much existing stock as possible for the event. We substituted long-lasting canned goods and filled in the gaps. We called suppliers to see if they could urgently deliver anything. But still.
What do we do? We're still short.
You're right. Let's inquire if any other stores can spare supplies. However, given that this disaster preparedness event was happening across multiple stores, there might not be enough to share. Still, I kept calling nearby stores, checking their inventory. Gradually, shipments started arriving from various places, but it was a struggle to get everything we needed. Just when we were feeling disheartened at closing time, unexpectedly, the headquarters truck arrived with the much-awaited stock. Wait, why is it coming from headquarters? I asked the driver. Even when I inquired with the driver,
I don't know. I was just told to deliver it.
Handling communication with headquarters is a task reserved for the store manager, yet there's no trace of any interaction with headquarters. Could someone else have connections there?
Is this enough?
Thank you. I believe this should suffice. You've been a tremendous help. The driver's smile brightened as we finished unloading. Now, everyone, I apologize for keeping you late, but let's do our best for the customers who are eagerly anticipating this. I encouraged each worker, drawing out their motivation. We worked until midnight, preparing for the event, and somehow managed to welcome the morning of the big day. The checkout counter was bustling with numerous customers. They kept coming, one after another, and my head was spinning from attending to them all. Yet the manager.
Oh, so busy, so busy.
He merely uttered those words without actually doing anything. If he won't contribute, could he at least stay out of everyone's way? Surprisingly, Sophia Lewis moved with agility. Her stocking shelves and handling customers were flawless. Amid these thoughts, the event concluded. Despite feeling dizzy, the event was a great success. Everyone, great job! Thanks to everyone's efforts, the event was a success. Hooray! The circle of smiles widened. Suddenly, the store manager, who had seemingly vanished, appeared out of nowhere and said this with a stern expression.
Hey, Annie.
Yes, what is it?
Whose responsibility do you think this is today?
Huh?
Obviously, it's your fault for the ordering mistake. You're the one who asked other stores for help, so naturally, it's your responsibility.
Are you kidding me? Originally, it was your mistake, wasn't it? Our argument escalated.
No, it's expected from someone like you to make such a mistake.
What do you mean?
Lately, there have been complaints about you specifically in the suggestion box and on social media. If someone like that makes a mistake, it's only natural. So, you're fired.
He declared, wearing a smug expression. As nearby part-timers tried to defend me, he glared around and said,
Enough! Anyone with complaints can quit.
The room fell silent. I see. Understood. I'll resign. Thank you for everything, I said, my voice steady. Exhausted, I couldn't think straight. I packed my belongings and headed home. Despite working diligently all this time, it seems I'll end up unrecognized. It's regrettable that I won't even get to greet our regular customers before leaving, but there's nothing more I can do. I have my own life to consider, and mulling over it endlessly won't change anything. I need to find a new job, I thought. However, as my emotions settled, anger welled up at the sheer injustice of it all. Just then, the store manager called me.
Hey, what have you done? Complaints have skyrocketed these past couple of days.
Huh? According to him, critical posts about our store on social media have surged, and headquarters is concerned. I don't know. I've already quit.
It's your fault. Remember that.
His words sound like something out of a gangster movie. Utterly nonsensical. The next day, I received a call from the headquarters manager. He wanted to discuss something, so he asked me to come to the headquarters tomorrow. What could it be now? The store manager's unreasonable behavior from yesterday flashed through my mind, but I couldn't imagine the company taking such absurdity seriously. When I arrived at the headquarters the next day, both the headquarters manager and the store manager were there.
I apologize for the inconvenience, Ms. Watson.
No problem. What can I help you with?
I had the store manager explain the circumstances of your resignation, but I'm still not convinced.
While offering me encouragement, the headquarters manager directed suspicion toward the store manager. The store manager couldn't hide his frustration.
It's because of her that we've been flooded with complaints and faced the hassle of the ordering mistake.
His eyes widened as he spoke.
But let me ask again. Is it truly Ms. Watson's responsibility for a mistake significant enough that headquarters had to step in?
Yes. She placed the order with the wrong date, which led to all this trouble.
Yet on the actual day, there was no report from you.
Huh? Oh, well, I was running around arranging the products.
Is that true?
Absolutely.
No, it's a blatant lie. Just as I was about to retort, a female voice came from behind.
He left promptly without doing anything.
I turned to see none other than the new part-timer, Sophia Lewis. Oh. Ms. Lewis.
Sophie. Why are you here?
Both the store manager and I froze, caught like deer in headlights.
I'm an undercover investigator dispatched by headquarters.
Ms. Lewis calmly revealed her true identity. What?
What?
Ms. Lewis proceeded to expose the store manager's sloppy work habits.
The store manager is incredibly careless in his duties. He always looks down on the part-timers, and any inconvenient tasks are delegated. During my job interview for the part-time position, he even made inappropriate comments. My resume was also filled with random things, but he didn't even bother looking at it.
Resume. The document she presented had large hearts next to the sections where one typically lists education and work history.
I never thought such a resume would pass.
Well, it's unique, or rather, I saw potential.
The store manager stammered, utterly bewildered.
Next, let's discuss the complaint about Ms. Watson.
As Ms. Lewis tried to continue, the manager interjected.
Yes, that's right. We've received numerous complaints about her from customers.
He held up a paper with printed complaints. That Watson is arrogant and unbearable, that curly-haired Watson is the worst, Watson, that jerk, has a terrible attitude, as long as he's here, I won't come back to this store.
See? Read it and understand.
Read it, huh? Is this perhaps a complaint about you?
Huh?
I'm neither curly-haired nor a jerk.
Nonsense. I'm the store manager. It clearly says employee.
However, look at the date. These complaints are about the behavior of the staff after I left. It's unacceptable. And with that, I refuted his claims.
That's right. regarding the incident where we ran out of products during the event.
The headquarters manager stepped in to support me.
In reality, the mistake was made by him, and Ms. Watson here covered for it.
Ms. Lewis chimed in with support as well.
We've also interviewed other employees. Word is you've been loafing around without doing any work. And since you arrived, we've had a string of part-timers quitting. It's clear you lack management skills. Ms. Watson has received a thank you letter at the headquarters.
Really? What followed was an unexpected twist. The trembling, delicate handwriting on the letter read,
I received exceptional kindness from a female attendant named Ms. Watson. I was so desperate due to poverty that I tried to steal fish to feed my husband. But she not only overlooked it but also paid for the fish and gave it to me. My husband ate that fish with such joy. Thanks to Ms. Watson, I got to see my husband smile one last time. Truly, thank you.
Yes, it was the letter from the lady who had attempted shoplifting some time ago.
Other customers have also praised Ms. Watson's outstanding service. Colleagues, including part-timers, are requesting Ms. Watson's return. They want her back.
The headquarters manager continued to share positive feedback about me.
Do you have anything to say?
Well,
The store manager's face turned pale, and he struggled to respond coherently.
It's clear now. Until your fate is decided, stay at home. Is that acceptable, Miss Sophia?
The headquarters manager turned to Ms. Lewis, revealing a smile. Wait, Miss Sophia. Once again, a surprising revelation unfolded.
I apologize for keeping it quiet. I'm actually the CEO's daughter.
Why? As an undercover investigator?
My father claimed it was because he trusted me the most, but honestly, it's probably because he can exploit me cheaply. By the way, I lied about my age on my resume. I'm the same age as you, Ms. Watson.
Wait, what? How is this even possible? I was speechless. And to think, I had also requested support from headquarters during the event planning. Truly fitting for the CEO's daughter. But goodness, she's incredibly young. Next time, I'll ask her about anti-aging secrets. Random, nonsensical thoughts raced through my mind.
Now, let's get to the point. Ms. Watson, would you consider returning to the store? This time as the store manager.
I'm not cut out to be a store manager.
No, your attentiveness to customers, your ability to guide new employees, and most importantly, your popularity, all of it makes you the perfect candidate. We sincerely hope you'll accept.
The headquarters manager's resolute words made me reflect on the karma of my efforts. Good morning. The weather is lovely today.
Good morning, Annie. Oh, wait, I should call you manager.
What are you talking about? Just keep calling me by my name as usual. Nothing has changed for me. Yes, I returned to the store as the store manager. But fear not, I plan to continue interacting with customers in my own way. By the way, that previous store manager shared my last name, Watson. The complaints directed at Watson were indeed aimed at the former store manager. I used to resent the trouble I faced due to our shared name. However, as it turned out, the previous manager's laziness and misdeeds caught up with them, leading to his dismissal. Meanwhile, I unexpectedly rose to the position of store manager. The Watson connection no longer bothers me. Since then, Miss Sophia, whom I've grown quite close to, graduated from her undercover investigator role and now works alongside me at the same supermarket. Perhaps one day, I'll ask her about her coveted anti-aging secrets.
How did you find this story? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time in our next video.